Hello guys, welcome to my first Sketchbook Sunday. Here is the image you will be seeing me draw today, so why don't we get into it. First off, I'm going to start with my materials: an eraser, two coal erase pencils in pink and Tuscan red, a Hi-tec brown fine liner, and a pencil sharpener. And here are the Copics I used. I believe it's Rose Red, Jade, and I can't remember what blue it is. I have a Cad Yellow, I have Maize, I have Soft Sun, I have Reddish Brass, I have Hazelnut, and I have Cashew. Those are the colors. I'll put a description of all of the colors in the box below, just so everybody can sort of know what they are if they missed it, and especially since I can't remember the name of that blue. To start off, I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to do a somewhat messy sketch with color. This is something I rarely do, since I still have a tendency to want to make perfect sketches with good color and perfect lines. I also rarely do something so quick in terms of a video. Normally, I would just be like, oh, I need to make this really long video, and it has to be, a certain content. I have to look back, and I'm like, this is Sketchbook Sunday. I want to show some of the things that I typically draw in a sketchbook. But I also want to challenge myself and draw other things, and I think this is a good way to keep myself accountable for that. I also wanted to give myself a time limit in which to create this character. So I gave myself about 30 minutes. I went over probably about a minute or two, so it's not entirely terrible for me. I used a few reference photos, including a character that was shown in the last video and my previous sketchbook tour. They don't have names, but this was a cat girl I had drawn, probably a few months back. And yesterday, I had sort of thought of doing a small series. I guess that would be the correct term to use here, of these cat ladies. Oh, on the right there, I'm drawing eyes. I do this sometimes when I don't have an idea of the eye shape that I want, and I'm trying to get a feel for it. I went with the second eye there on the bottom. I want them to be sort of like benevolent sort of cat ladies or cat goddesses. I'm not sure what to call them yet. They're not quite nekomimis. Nekomimis are usually more human in most areas, with the exception of the ears and a tail. She has a mostly human form, but I gave her very cat-like features, including the large ears, a more cat-like nose. Of course, the irises are, I think daggered is the term I can use here, but that's not the correct term I'm looking for. But I wanted to do a series featuring these cat ladies. So in the beginning, I had started off with the pink, do a light sketch, and I'm sorry that you couldn't see it. And now I'm going in with the Tuscan red to sort of darken things up and see how I want the image to look. This isn't going to be like the final composition of this cat lady, but I needed to figure out her arms, because I wanted to make her different enough from the other Catwoman, who had 3 eyes but was generally otherwise more human than this one. If I don't think that's the term I'm looking for, because most people don't have 3 eyes, but yeah, you kind of get where I'm going with this. This particular cat lady is supposed to be more modeled off of a Devon Rex. I just wanted to keep the large ears as sort of a thing that was common with all of the cat ladies, aside from the fact that they were cat ladies. But I wanted to make her different, so that's why she has 4 arms instead of the 3 eyes. But I also took it a little bit further. Most then you see anything with 4 arms. They sort of have this same size proportions in the arms and hands, and I wanted to give her hands a bit of a different dynamic. So the smaller hands in front, and then she has 2 larger hands that are more like paws with opposable thumbs. Here on the hips, I'm giving her some crystal protrusions. The other cat girl had tattoos that were actually seasonal tattoos. So as the seasons changed, the tattoos would sort of change with the seasons, and I may reflect that more when I do some finalized pieces of them. And I think I may give this gal some more crystals later on. I think some crystals on the shoulder and maybe on the chest would look kind of nice. But that's not completely set in stone. And I didn't give this one a tail. And I'm not sure if I'm going to give her a long tail or if I'd give her a double tail. That remains to be seen. I had thought about even giving her like sort of a short tail, but I don't know if it would come out as nice with her. Mostly because you can't see it, and when I do cat girls, I would like for you to see their tails, even if they have short ones. So I'll figure that out when I get to it. Here I'm drawing the eye again, just because I wanted to test my colors. This is a Canson mixed media pad, so using colors like this means it will bleed. This one surprisingly didn't, even though I was getting a little heavy with the layers. But yeah, I changed it enough so that I may hold on to some of the ink, I suppose, because I don't have refills for any of my markers as of yet. But a tip for other artists or younger artists who may be getting into Copic markers or alcohol ink markers in any capacity, what I like to do is I keep some extra paper on hand. I have some thicker ply paper that's not quite printer paper that I stuck underneath just in case, because I didn't want it to bleed through, even though if it had bled through, the next page would more or less become probably my figure drawing page. But yeah, that's my little trip to try to keep my pages as clean as possible. It will not save the other side from being bled through though, i.e. If I turn on the back of this cat woman, I can see where I laid my color. But at least it's only on the back, and I can just do figure drawings on the back. Around her, a lot of times what happens though, I kind of leave those blank. I don't know why, it's just the thing that I do. So it remains to be seen if I'll do figure drawings on the back, but I probably won't. Here I'm going in with the rose pink, and I know at some point in this video you may see me jump, or at least my hand move very quickly away from my page. What had happened was when I was drawing this, I was watching a playthrough of Outlast Whistleblower, and despite having seen this game being played before, I wasn't paying too much attention, and I sort of got scared pretty badly. But luckily I didn't mess up the sketch in any capacity, otherwise I'd have been very, very upset. Not that I couldn't erase, except for these markers. I can't erase markers. But I should have known better. I should have known better. So that was bad on my part. I knew there would be jump scares, and I probably knew somewhere in the back of my mind, if I'm not going to pay attention, I should be prepared in any capacity to sort of look up and be scared right along with the Let's Player. If you guys want to know who I was watching play Whistleblower, I was watching the Rat Brad. I like his videos. He doesn't do face cam like some of the other YouTubers do, but he has pretty good commentary, and he is kind of amusing considering he's equally terrified. I think my favorite phrase by him is "Sweet Buttery Jesus." But yeah, moving forward with our little image here. I'm doing the base skin layer. I may get something a little browner. I was using Soft Sun in hopes it would give me a light brown that I wanted. That wasn't quite hazelnut. Not that hazelnut's a bad color, but I'm thinking I may need the suntan Copic marker to get where I want in terms of her coloring. But otherwise, it's not too bad. I need to work on the points of her face that have the darker color, which is cashew. I could have maybe done it in burnt umber or burnt umber and cashew to sort of give it more complexity. But like I said, this is just a sketch. It's just my sketchbook, and I'm learning for when I get around to actually doing the larger pieces. I did try to sort of fade it out though, with the hazelnut color. Hazelnut's an actually really nice color, but I think I used it way too much on her face. I could have just left it right there where it is right now. Could have left it. Could have left it. It looks better. Or maybe it just looks better on the screen. I'm not sure. But here it kind of looks, in person, it's like, that needs to be faded a lot more. It needs to blend better than it is. And I think I should have left the top of her head alone and figured out a way to make it look a little more like that wave pattern that the Devon Rex cats have in their fur. So actually, I'm gonna write that down in my book. Or on the sketch itself, which means when I do the sketchbook tour, you'll see my little notes. You know, and that's a thing you can do too. I don't do it frequently. A lot of times when I do my sketches, concept or otherwise, I tend to leave notes for myself somewhere, especially for new characters, and especially when I'm using Copic markers, because I need to remember for the next time. Even if it's just something like the skin tone, which is actually a bigger thing for me. And blend face more. Okay, there we go. I have a half-elf character. When I first drew her, it's probably the first time I had gotten the large selection of skin tone markers, and I needed to have on hand what exactly I used at that time, because I would have surely forgotten it and would have had to play sort of like trial and error, and figure out what I used. But like right now, I didn't do it on camera, but I wrote down all the names of the Copic markers that I had used for her skin on the side of her body, just to have an idea. Originally, it was only going to be about 3 markers. It was going to be the Soft Sun, the Hazelnut, and the Cashew. And then I had used Rose Red because I knew I wanted to give her points on her face where the blood had collected a little more. I was going to give her something as akin to blush, and, you know, putting the pinks on her elbows. And then later, it sort of just got out of control. I had added the reddish brass in her ears to sort of map out the inside of her ear, which is actually not the best representation in the world. But it helps me. It was a different color. It was, and I didn't really want to use like a tea rose or a tea orange, even though they would have probably worked here. I think the reddish brass came out a little better. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the Sketchbook Sunday, and I look forward to doing some more in the future. So until next time, guys, bye!